I need the apartment this Friday night. Don't ask questions, just go stay somewhere. My name is Cameron. I'm 39 years old, and I work as a logistics coordinator for Driftshade Limited, a mid-sized shipping company in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been married to Vanessa for 7 years. We met at a conference when I was 31. She was ambitious, sharp, and confident. I liked that about her. She worked in corporate training and development, always talking about mentorship programs and leadership strategies. I thought we had something solid. But lately, something felt off. It started small. She stopped asking about my day. When I came home, she barely looked up from her laptop. Dinner conversations turned into silence, punctuated by the sound of her typing. I told myself she was just busy. Work was demanding. Everyone goes through phases. Then came the Friday request. We were sitting at the kitchen table when she said it. Casual, like she was asking me to pick up milk. I need the apartment this Friday night. Don't ask questions, just go stay somewhere. I looked at her. She was scrolling through her phone, not even meeting my eyes. Why? I asked. I just need some space. Please, Cameron, just this once. I wanted to press her. I wanted to demand an explanation. But something in her tone told me I wouldn't get one. So I nodded. All right. She smiled then, a quick relieved smile, like she'd just dodged something uncomfortable. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, the way she said it, the way she didn't look at me, the way she acted like it was the most normal thing in the world to ask your husband to leave his own home for a night without explaining why. The next morning, I went to work like usual. I sat at my desk, staring at shipment manifests, but my mind was elsewhere. I thought about Vanessa, about the late-night phone calls she took in the bathroom, about the new clothes she'd been buying, about the way she smiled at her phone sometimes, then quickly locked the screen when I walked into the room. I told myself I was being paranoid. But paranoia has a way of sitting in your chest like a weight you can't shake off no matter how hard you try. By Wednesday, I'd made a decision. I stopped by an electronics store on my way home from work. The place was cluttered with gadgets and wires and teenagers asking about gaming equipment. I walked up to the counter and asked the guy behind it about security cameras. He was young, maybe 25, with a name tag that said Travis. He showed me a small one no bigger than a USB drive with motion sensor activation and Wi-Fi streaming capability. He explained how it worked, how to set it up, how to access the footage remotely. I bought it without thinking twice, paid cash. That evening I installed it in the living room. I hid it on the top shelf of the bookcase, tucked behind a row of old novels we never read anymore, angled toward the couch. It was subtle. You wouldn't notice it unless you were looking for it, unless you knew it was there. Vanessa came home around 8 p.m. She was in a good mood, better than usual. She kissed me on the cheek and asked how my day was. I told her it was fine. She didn't ask for details. She never did anymore. Thursday passed in a blur. I kept thinking about Friday, about what might happen, about what I might see. Part of me hoped I was wrong. Part of me hoped the camera would show nothing, that Vanessa really did just need space, that I was being paranoid and jealous and insecure. But deep down, I knew better. Friday morning, Vanessa woke up early. She was humming in the shower. I lay in bed, listening to the sound of water running, and felt a knot tighten in my stomach. She was excited about something. Happy in a way she hadn't been around me in months. "You remember you're staying somewhere tonight, right?" she asked when she came out, wrapped in a towel, water dripping from her hair. "Yeah, I remember." "Thanks, Cameron. I really appreciate it." I nodded. She smiled again. That same quick, relieved smile, like I'd just made her life so much easier by agreeing to leave my own home. I went to work, but I couldn't focus. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the hours to pass. My coworker, Gregory, asked if I was all right. I told him I was fine. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push. Gregory was good like that. He knew when to leave things alone. At 5 p.m. I left the office. I drove to a motel on the edge of town. It was cheap, with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign that said, "Vacancy" in red letters. I checked in, dropped my bag on the bed and pulled out my laptop. The cameras app was already open on my phone. I synced it to my laptop and waited. The screen showed an empty living room. Our living room. The couch where we used to sit together watching movies. The coffee table where we'd eat takeout when we were too tired to cook. At 7 p.m., the motion sensor activated. I leaned forward, staring at the screen. Vanessa walked into the living room. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Dark blue, fitted, elegant, something she'd bought recently and hidden from me. She checked her reflection in the hallway mirror, adjusting her hair, smoothing down the fabric of the dress. Then the doorbell rang. She opened the door, and a man walked in. I recognized him immediately. Jordan, her mentor. The guy she always talked about. The one who'd supposedly helped her advance her career. The one she mentioned in every other conversation like he was some kind of prophet delivering wisdom from on high. He was tall, mid-40s, with graying hair and a confident stride. He carried a bottle of wine in one hand. Expensive wine, from the look of the label. They hugged, a long hug. Too long. His hands on her back. Her face pressed against his chest. I felt my jaw tighten. They moved to the couch. He poured the wine. They talked, laughed. I couldn't hear the audio through the camera, but I didn't need to. The way she leaned toward him, the way she touched his arm, the way she looked at him with those bright, excited eyes. I watched for 15 minutes, then 30, then an hour. At some point, he reached over and brushed a strand of hair from her face. She didn't pull away. She smiled. That same smile she used to give me years ago when we were still happy. Then he kissed her. She kissed him back. I closed the laptop. I sat there in that motel room, staring at the wall, feeling nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a hollow emptiness where something used to be. Like someone had reached inside my chest and scooped out everything that mattered. Then I opened the laptop again. I needed to see the rest. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. No more guessing. No more wondering. Just cold, hard truth. The video kept running. They moved closer together on the couch. His hands were on her waist. Her hands were in his hair. They were kissing like they'd done this before. Like they knew each other's rhythms, like this wasn't the first time. I watched for another hour. They talked, they laughed, they kissed again and again. Then they stood up and walked toward the bedroom, hand in hand, like a real couple, like people in love. The camera couldn't see into the bedroom, but it didn't matter. I'd seen enough. I met Vanessa when I was 31. I'd been single for a while, focused on building my career. Logistics wasn't glamorous, but it paid well, and I was good at it. I liked the order of it, the predictability, the way everything had a place and a purpose. Numbers made sense, routes made sense. People were the complicated part. Vanessa was different. She was dynamic, always moving, always planning. She worked for a consulting firm back then, running workshops on leadership and team building. We met at a conference in Nashville. She was one of the speakers. I sat in the back row, half listening to her talk about corporate culture and employee engagement, until she made a joke that actually landed. The whole room laughed. After her session, I approached her at the coffee station. "That was pretty good," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "Pretty good?" "All right. It was great." She smiled. "Better." We talked for 20 minutes about nothing important, then an hour about everything. By the end of the conference, we'd exchanged numbers. She called me 2 days later. We had our first date that weekend. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. It wasn't a grand gesture, just the two of us at a park by the river on a Sunday afternoon in October. The leaves were changing colors. The air was crisp. I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. She said yes without hesitation. She actually cried. Happy tears. Real tears. The first few years of marriage were good. We traveled to places we'd always wanted to see. We talked about our days over dinner. We laughed at stupid movies. She was always ambitious, always pushing for the next promotion, the next opportunity. I supported her. I wanted her to succeed. I thought that's what partners did. They lifted each other up. They celebrated each other's victories. But somewhere along the way, things shifted. She started working longer hours. She came home exhausted, too tired to talk. I told myself it was temporary, that once she finished her current project, things would go back to normal, that the woman I married was still in there somewhere. They didn't go back to normal. She took a new position at a different company about 3 years ago. Corporate training and development for Draythorn Technologies, a tech firm in Memphis. She was excited about it, said it was a big step up, better pay, better benefits, better opportunities to make an impact. I was happy for her, proud of her. That's when she started talking about Jordan. Jordan this, Jordan that. Jordan said this brilliant thing in the meeting today. Jordan recommended this book on leadership theory. Jordan helped me structure my presentation for the executives. Jordan thinks I have real potential for advancement. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone has mentors. Everyone needs guidance from people who've been where they want to go. I'd had mentors myself, people who'd helped me navigate my career. So I didn't worry. I didn't see the warning signs. But then it became constant. I'd ask her about her day, and Jordan would be the centerpiece of the story. Every single story. I'd suggest we do something together on the weekend, and she'd tell me she had a meeting with Jordan, a coffee meeting, a working lunch, a strategy session. He's really helping me grow professionally, she said once when I asked why she was spending so much time with him. I nodded. I didn't say what I was thinking. I didn't want to be that husband, the jealous one, the insecure one, the one who couldn't handle his wife having a male mentor. There were other signs. Small things that added up over time like drops of water filling a bucket. She started dressing differently, more polished, more deliberate. She bought new perfume that smelled expensive. She changed her hair to a more sophisticated style. She started going to the gym more often, 5 days a week instead of 2. When I asked about it, she said she wanted to feel more confident at work. Nothing wrong with wanting to look good, she said. It's important to make a good impression. I agreed. But something about the way she said it bothered me. Like she wasn't dressing for herself or for me. Like she was dressing for someone else. Then there were the phone calls. Late at night, she'd step into the bathroom or the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, voice low. When I asked who it was, she'd say it was work. Always work. Always urgent. Always something that couldn't wait until morning. One night, about 2 months ago, I woke up around 2 a.m. Vanessa wasn't in bed. I got up and found her in the living room sitting on the couch with her phone. The screen lit up her face in the darkness. She was smiling. Actually smiling. At 2 a.m. "Who are you texting?" I asked. She jumped like I'd caught her doing something wrong. She locked the screen immediately. "Just a colleague. Couldn't sleep. Work stuff." At 2 a.m? "Different time zones," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Go back to bed, Cameron." I didn't push it. I went back to bed. But I lay awake for the rest of the night, staring at the ceiling, wondering who made her smile like that at 2 a.m. Wondering why work conversations made her look so happy when conversations with me hadn't made her smile in months. A few weeks later, I noticed she'd changed her phone's passcode. We'd always known each other's codes. It was never a big deal. We trusted each other. Or at least I thought we did. But suddenly, hers was different. "Why'd you change it?" I asked casually one evening. She shrugged without looking up from her screen. "Just felt like updating it. Security, you know. They recommend changing passwords regularly." I nodded, but the knot in my stomach tightened another notch. I started paying closer attention after that. Watching. Listening. Noticing things I'd been too trusting to notice before. She was always texting someone. Always smiling at her phone. Typing quickly, then locking the screen the second I entered the room. She'd take calls outside even when it was cold. She'd disappear for hours on weekends, claiming she had work events or team-building exercises or professional development seminars. One evening, I asked her directly. We were sitting at dinner, barely touching the food I'd cooked. The silence between us had become so normal I almost didn't notice it anymore. "Are you happy?" I asked. She looked at me confused, like the question didn't make sense. What do you mean? Are you happy? With us? With our marriage? She hesitated, just for a second. But it was enough. That tiny pause told me everything I needed to know. Of course I am, Cameron. Why would you ask that? I don't know. You just seem distant lately, like you're somewhere else even when you're here. She sighed and set down her fork. I'm just stressed. Work is demanding. You know how it is. I'm trying to prove myself in this new role. Jordan says the first few years are critical for establishing credibility. Jordan says. Always Jordan says. Right, I said. Don't be like that. Like what? Jealous. Jordan is my mentor. That's all. He's helping me build my career. I'm not jealous. Then what's the problem? I didn't answer, because I didn't know how to put it into words without sounding like exactly what she was accusing me of being. So I let it drop. But the feeling wouldn't go away. It sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and unmovable. And every day it got a little heavier. Then came the Friday request. When she asked me to leave for the night, I knew. I didn't have proof, but I knew. So I installed the camera, and now, sitting in that motel room watching the footage on my laptop, I had my proof. I had confirmation of everything I'd suspected for months, everything I'd tried to talk myself out of believing. Jordan wasn't just her mentor. He was the reason she'd been distant, the reason she'd changed her passcode, the reason she'd been smiling at her phone in the middle of the night, the reason she'd asked me to leave my own home. I watched them on the couch. They were close now. Intimate. His hand was on her knee, sliding higher. She was laughing at something he said. Her head tilted back, her eyes bright with genuine joy. Joy I hadn't seen directed at me in so long I'd almost forgotten what it looked like. Then he leaned in and kissed her again, long and slow, like they had all the time in the world. She didn't pull away. She leaned into it. Her hand went to the back of his neck, pulling him closer. Like she'd been waiting for this. Like she wanted it. I felt something crack inside me. Not anger. Not yet. Just a cold, sharp clarity. Like someone had turned on all the lights in a dark room and I could finally see everything I'd been stumbling around in. I paused the video. I sat there for a long time, staring at the frozen image on the screen. Vanessa's face tilted up toward his hand on her cheek. Her eyes closed in what looked like contentment, peace, happiness. Then I opened a new tab and started researching. Jordan was easy to find. LinkedIn showed everything. Full name, Jordan Alexander Webb. Senior Director of Leadership Development at Draythorn Technologies. 43 years old, 15 years with the company. Before that, he'd worked in organizational development for a Fortune 500 company. He had hundreds of connections, endorsements from colleagues praising his strategic thinking and mentorship abilities, recommendations that called him inspirational and transformative. His profile picture showed a confident man in an expensive suit, smiling at the camera like he owned the world. He was engaged. His fiancee's name was Claire Donovan. She was a project manager at a non-profit organization that worked with underprivileged youth. Her profile was public. She posted pictures of them together regularly, smiling at restaurants, hiking in the mountains, celebrating holidays with family. They looked happy. They looked like they had a future. The wedding was scheduled for August, 3 months away. I found his boss's email on the company website, Patricia Reynolds, Director of Human Resources. Her contact information was listed under the leadership page along with her professional headshot and bio. I found the church he attended. It was listed prominently on his Facebook profile, which he'd left completely public. Riverside Community Church, a large congregation on the outskirts of Memphis with modern architecture and a thriving community. Jordan was listed as a deacon on the church website. He led a men's Bible study group every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. He volunteered with the youth ministry on weekends. His church profile page showed him surrounded by smiling teenagers, acoustic guitar in hand, teaching worship songs. I saved everything: screenshots, links, email addresses, phone numbers, everything I might need. Then I went back to the video and let it play. They were still on the couch, talking now. His hand moved from her knee to her thigh. She didn't stop him. She put her hand over his, encouraging him. Then they stood up. They walked toward the bedroom, hand in hand, moving like they'd choreographed this, like it was a routine they'd practiced, like this wasn't the first time they'd done this in my home. The camera couldn't see into the bedroom. The angle was wrong. But I didn't need it to. I'd seen enough. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. The motel room felt smaller now, suffocating. The walls seemed to press in on me. The sound of the heater was too loud. The traffic outside was too close. I couldn't breathe properly. I stood up and walked to the window. I looked out at the parking lot. Cars scattered across cracked asphalt. A neon sign flickering overhead in rhythm with my heartbeat. A man smoking a cigarette by the ice machine. A woman dragging luggage toward a room. Normal people living normal lives while mine fell apart. This was my life now. A cheap motel room, a laptop full of evidence, a marriage that had been a lie for God knows how long, maybe months, maybe the entire time. I thought about the past 7 years, about the life we'd built together, about the promises we'd made standing in front of our families and friends, about the nights we stayed up late talking about our dreams and plans and the future we were going to build together, about the sacrifices I'd made for her career, the promotions I'd turned down because they would have required relocating and she didn't want to leave Memphis. She said she was building something here, something important. I believed her. I supported her. The weekends I'd spent alone because she had work events and conferences and networking dinners. The conversations we never had because she was too tired or too busy or too distracted by whatever was on her phone. All of it felt hollow now. Empty. Like I'd been living in a house built on sand and the tide had finally come in and washed away everything I thought was solid. I thought about Jordan, about how easily he'd walked into my home like he belonged there, into my life, how he'd smiled at my wife with that confident, entitled expression, how he'd kissed her in my living room, how he'd led her to my bedroom without a second thought about the man whose life he was helping destroy. I thought about Vanessa, about how she'd asked me to leave without hesitation, without guilt, without even bothering to come up with a decent excuse, like I was an inconvenience, a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be temporarily removed so she could have what she wanted. And I realized something that settled into my bones with absolute certainty. She didn't respect me anymore. Maybe she never had. Maybe I'd been convenient, safe, stable, the reliable husband who worked his steady job and came home every night and didn't ask too many questions, while she lived a completely different life. I opened the laptop again. I downloaded the full video file, all 2 hours and 43 minutes of it. I saved it to multiple locations, a secure folder on my laptop, a cloud drive, a USB drive that I tucked into my wallet. Then I opened my email. I drafted a message. The subject line was simple. You should see this. I attached the video file. In the body of the email, I wrote one sentence. I thought you deserved to know the truth. Then I added 3 recipients. Claire Donovan, Jordan's fiancée. I found her email address on the nonprofit's website, listed under staff contacts. Patricia Reynolds, Jordan's boss at Draythorn Technologies, the director of human resources. Pastor Samuel Henderson, the head pastor at Riverside Community Church. His email was listed on the church website under the contact page. I stared at the screen for a long time. My finger hovered over the send button. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking slightly. This would change everything. I knew that. Once I sent this, there was no going back. No undoing it. No pretending it didn't happen. No reconciliation. No second chances. No working it out. Jordan would lose his job. His fiancée would leave him. His church would remove him from leadership. His reputation would be destroyed. His entire life would implode. And Vanessa would know what I'd done. But I didn't care anymore. They'd made their choices. Now they could live with the consequences. I clicked send. The email went out with a soft whoosh sound. I closed the laptop and leaned back on the bed. It was done. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in that cheap motel bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling tiles, listening to the sounds of other people's lives through the thin walls, voices arguing, a television playing too loud, someone's headboard banging rhythmically against the wall, the ice machine rumbling and clattering every 20 minutes. My phone was on the nightstand, screen dark. I didn't check it. I didn't want to see the messages that were probably already flooding in. There would be time for that later. Around 3 in the morning, the phone started buzzing, constantly, like an angry wasp trapped in a jar. I picked it up and looked at the screen. 23 missed calls, 14 texts, all from Vanessa. I opened the messages. The first one was from 11 p.m. Hey, where are you? Just checking in. Hope the motel is decent. Then midnight. Cameron, call me when you get this. Then 1 a.m. Why aren't you answering? Is everything okay? Then 2 a.m. Cameron, please. I need to talk to you. It's important. Then 3 a.m. Something happened. Something terrible. Please call me, it's urgent. The messages got more frantic after that, more desperate. Cameron, please answer me. Jordan is in trouble. Someone sent a video to his fiancée, and his boss, and his church. He's been fired. Claire left him, his church kicked him out. His whole life is falling apart. Do you know anything about this? Cameron, where are you? Did you do this? Please tell me you didn't do this. Cameron, you have to help me fix this. You have to tell them it was a mistake, that it wasn't what it looked like, please. I put the phone down and closed my eyes. At 7 in the morning, I checked out of the motel. The clerk was a tired-looking woman in her 50s who didn't make eye contact. I paid cash and walked out into the gray morning light. I drove back to the apartment. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. I parked next to it and sat there for a moment, gathering myself, preparing for what was about to happen. Then I walked inside. She was sitting on the couch, the same couch where she'd been with Jordan just hours before. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her face was blotchy. Her hair was a mess. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. She looked destroyed. Cameron, she said, standing up quickly when she saw me. We need to talk. Right now. I didn't say anything. I walked past her into the kitchen and poured myself a cup of coffee from the pot she'd made. It was strong and bitter, exactly what I needed. Cameron, please, she said, following me into the kitchen. Her voice was shaking. Something terrible happened last night. Jordan, he's in trouble. Real trouble. His fiancée got this video. Someone sent her a video of us together. Here. In this apartment. And they sent it to his boss, too. And his pastor. He's been fired from his job. Claire called off the wedding and left him. His church removed him from all his leadership positions. His whole life is ruined. Do you understand? Ruined. I took a sip of coffee. It burned my tongue, but I didn't care. Cameron, did you hear me? I heard you. Do you know anything about this? About the video? I looked at her directly. Met her eyes. Yeah, I know about it. Her face went pale. All the color drained from her cheeks. What do you mean? I sent it. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language, like the words didn't make sense. You what? I sent the video. To Claire, to his boss, to his pastor, to everyone who needed to see the truth about who Jordan really is. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She just stood there, frozen, processing what I'd said. You told me not to ask questions, I continued calmly. So I didn't. I just installed a security camera instead. Funny how that works out. Cameron, what have you done? Her voice came out as a whisper, then louder. What have you done? What have I done? I set the coffee cup down on the counter. I told the truth, that's all. I showed people what you and Jordan were doing in my home while I was supposed to stay away and not ask questions. You ruined his life. No, he ruined his own life, and you helped him do it. She shook her head violently. Tears were streaming down her face now. You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to go this far. What was it supposed to be, Vanessa? A fun little affair that no one would ever find out about? A secret you could keep while I played the role of the oblivious husband? I didn't think you'd do this, she said. Her voice was breaking. I didn't think you'd hurt him like this. I didn't think you were capable of something so cruel. Cruel? I felt anger rising in my chest now, hot and sharp. You want to talk about cruel? You asked me to leave my own home so you could sleep with another man in my bed, and you think I'm the cruel one? Cameron, please. You have to fix this. You have to tell them it was a mistake. That the video was taken out of context or something. That it's not what it looks like. It wasn't a mistake. And there's no context that makes it okay. You were kissing him. Touching him. Taking him to our bedroom. What context could possibly make that acceptable? Cameron, please. She grabbed my arm with both hands, desperate now. He's lost everything. His job, his fiancée, his reputation, his church. He has nothing left, nothing, and it's because of you. I pulled my arm away from her grip. He should have thought about that before he walked into my home, before he put his hands on my wife, before he helped destroy my marriage. She sank down onto the floor right there in the kitchen, her back against the cabinets, sobbing into her hands, her whole body shaking. I looked at her. I waited for something to stir inside me. Guilt, regret, sympathy, the urge to comfort her, anything. But I felt nothing, just cold emptiness where those feelings should have been. I'm filing for divorce, I said. She looked up at me. Her face was a mess of tears and mascara and disbelief. What? I'm done, Vanessa. I'm done with this marriage. I'm done pretending everything is fine. I'm done being the guy you keep around because it's convenient while you live whatever other life you want on the side. Cameron, no. Please. We can work this out. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can start over. I made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. But we can get through this together if you just give me a chance. There's nothing to fix. This marriage is over. Cameron, please don't do this. I love you. I know I messed up, but I love you. No. You don't love me. You haven't loved me in a long time. Maybe you never did. Maybe I was just convenient, safe, the stable guy who would support your career and not ask too many questions. That's not true. Isn't it? She didn't answer. She just sat there crying. I walked past her to the bedroom. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, a few books, my laptop, my important documents. I didn't take much. I didn't need much. I just needed enough to start somewhere else. When I came back out, she was still on the floor, watching me with red, swollen eyes. Cameron, please don't do this, she said. Her voice was small now, broken. I'm begging you, don't leave like this. I didn't answer. I walked to the door with my bag. Cameron? I stopped. My hand on the doorknob. I didn't turn around. I loved you, she said quietly. I know you don't believe me, but I did love you. I do love you. I looked back at her over my shoulder. No, you didn't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have asked me to leave my own home so you could be with another man. You wouldn't have lied to me for months. You wouldn't have betrayed everything we built together. So no, Vanessa, you didn't love me. Maybe you loved the idea of me, the security I provided, but not me. Then I walked out. I got in my car and drove away without looking back. I didn't need to look back. There was nothing there for me anymore, just the shell of a life I thought I had. a marriage that had been hollow for longer than I wanted to admit. I found another motel, different from the first one but just as cheap, the kind of place where people go when they're running from something or starting over or both. I checked in, dropped my bag on the bed, sat down in the worn chair by the window. My phone was buzzing again. Constantly. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. 32 missed calls. 27 texts, all from Vanessa. I scrolled through the messages without really reading them. More apologies, more excuses, more begging me to come back, to fix things, to make this right. But there was nothing to fix, nothing to make right. It was all broken beyond repair. I turned off my phone and set it on the nightstand. Then I just sat there in the silence, staring out the window at the parking lot, watching people come and go with their own lives and problems and secrets, and I felt strangely calm, like I'd been carrying something heavy for months without realizing it, and now I'd finally set it down. On Monday morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. I showered, got dressed in clean clothes, grabbed coffee from the drive-thru on the way, walked into the office at my usual time. Gregory was at his desk when I arrived. He looked up and did a double take. "Whoa, you look terrible. What happened?" "Rough weekend." He studied my face for a moment. The dark circles under my eyes, the tightness around my mouth. "You want to talk about it?" "Not really." He nodded slowly. "All right, but if you need anything, I'm here." "I know, thanks." I sat down at my desk and tried to focus on work. Shipment schedules, route optimization, inventory management. Simple problems with simple solutions. No emotions, no complications, just numbers and logistics. But my mind kept drifting back to Friday night, to the video, to Vanessa's face when I told her I'd sent it, to the weight of what I'd done settling over me like a heavy blanket. At lunch, I checked my email. There was a message from Claire. The subject line read, "Thank you." I hesitated for a moment, then opened it. "Cameron, I don't know you, but I needed to reach out and say thank you. I had no idea what Jordan was doing. He told me he was working late most nights, that his company was going through a major transition and he needed to put in extra hours to prove himself. I believed him completely. I trusted him with everything. Seeing that video destroyed me. I spent all night crying. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I felt like my entire world had collapsed. But as awful as it was, it also saved me. I can't imagine what would have happened if I'd married him without knowing the truth. If I'd built a life with him, had children with him, invested years into a relationship built on lies, and then found out later that he was capable of this kind of betrayal. You saved me from that future. I know you're probably going through hell right now. I know this must have hurt you terribly to discover and even worse to share. But I wanted you to know that what you did was brave. It was honest, and I'm grateful. Thank you for caring enough about the truth to tell it, even when it was hard. I hope you're able to find peace after this. You deserve better than what happened to you. Claire. I read the email 3 times. Each time I felt something shift slightly inside me. Not quite relief, not quite validation, but something close to both. I replied, "Claire, thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. I'm sorry you're hurting. But you're right. Better to know now than later. I hope you're able to move forward and find someone who deserves your trust. Take care. Cameron." I hit send and closed my laptop. That evening I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello? Cameron?" It was a man's voice. Deep, professional, slightly formal. "Who's this?" "My name is Robert Hendricks. I'm the Director of Operations at Draythorn Technologies. I wanted to reach out to you personally to discuss the situation involving Jordan Webb." I sat up straight. "Okay. I received the video you sent to our Human Resources Director, Patricia Reynolds. First, I want to say I'm deeply sorry for what happened to you. The behavior shown in that video is completely unacceptable, and violates multiple company policies. Jordan was terminated this morning, effective immediately. We've also launched an internal investigation into his conduct over the past several years, including his relationships with other employees and whether this was an isolated incident or part of a pattern. I didn't know what to say. Cameron? Are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. I want you to know that we take these matters extremely seriously. Jordan held a position of authority within our organization. He was responsible for mentoring and developing other employees, including your wife. The power dynamics involved make his actions even more problematic. He abused that trust and authority. He brought disgrace to our company, and he did it all while claiming to be helping people grow professionally. It's disgusting. I appreciate you telling me this. Of course, I also want you to know that if there's anything we can do to support you during this difficult time, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know that's probably the last thing you want to hear from the company where your wife met this man, but the offer stands nonetheless. Thank you. Take care of yourself, Cameron. And again, I'm truly sorry this happened. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, processing the conversation. Jordan was fired. His entire career at Draythorn was over. The company he'd worked for 15 years had cut him loose without hesitation. It should have felt like justice, like vindication. But it just felt empty. The next day brought more messages from Vanessa. They started coming in around 2 in the morning and didn't stop. Cameron, please, you have to talk to me. Jordan is falling apart. He's staying with a friend because he can't afford his apartment anymore. He lost his job, his savings, everything. He's talking about hurting himself. I'm scared for him. You have to help me figure out what to do. Cameron, why aren't you answering? This has gone too far. Yes, what we did was wrong. I know that. But this punishment doesn't fit. He doesn't deserve to lose everything over one mistake. Cameron, please, I need you. Jordan needs you. You have to tell them it was all a misunderstanding. That you overreacted. That the video doesn't show the full context. Something, anything, please. I read the messages but didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Jordan's problems were not my responsibility. The consequences he was facing were the direct result of his own choices. At work, I kept my head down. I focused on my projects. I avoided small talk in the break room. I just wanted to get through each day without having to explain or justify or discuss what had happened. But Gregory cornered me in the parking lot at the end of the week. All right, seriously. What's going on with you? It's personal. No kidding. Look, you don't have to tell me details if you don't want to, but you look like someone who's going through something major, and I'm worried about you. I looked at him. He'd worked with me for 4 years. We'd never been super close, but he was a good guy. Solid, dependable. The kind of person who actually meant it when he said he was there for you. My wife was having an affair, I said. I found out. Now I'm getting divorced. His face fell. Damn, man. I'm sorry. It is what it is. How are you holding up? I'm fine. He gave me a look that said he didn't believe me for a second. You sure about that? I will be fine. Eventually. He nodded. If you need anything, and I mean anything, let me know. Even if it's just someone to grab a beer with and not talk about it. Thanks, Gregory, I appreciate it. He clapped me on the shoulder and walked to his car. That weekend, I forced myself to start looking for a new place to live. I couldn't stay in motel rooms forever. I needed something permanent, something that was mine. I found a small apartment on the other side of town, 1 bedroom, modest rent, nothing fancy. But it had decent light coming through the windows and a small balcony overlooking the street. The landlord didn't ask too many questions. I signed a 6-month lease and put down the deposit. Moving day was the following Saturday. I didn't have much to move. Most of the furniture at the old apartment belonged to Vanessa or we'd bought it together. I didn't want any of it. I just wanted my personal belongings and a fresh start. I bought new furniture from a discount store. A bed, a couch, a small dining table, basic kitchen supplies. Nothing expensive, nothing fancy. just functional pieces to build a new life around. When everything was set up, I stood in the middle of my empty living room and looked around. It was bare, simple, but it was mine, completely mine. No shared history, no painful memories. Just blank walls waiting to be filled with whatever came next. My phone buzzed. Another message from Vanessa. Cameron, I saw you moved your stuff out. Please tell me where you're staying. We need to talk face to face. There are things I need to say. Things I need you to understand. Please give me one chance to explain everything. Just one conversation. That's all I'm asking. I deleted the message without responding. Then I blocked her number. It was time to move forward, and moving forward meant cutting ties with the past completely. The following Monday, I contacted a divorce lawyer. I found her through a referral from someone at work who'd been through a divorce a few years earlier. Her name was Bethany Anderson, 54 years old, experienced, highly rated, expensive, but worth it, according to the reviews. I called her office and scheduled a consultation for that afternoon. I left work early and drove downtown to her office building, modern glass and steel. Professional. The kind of place that communicated competence and success. Her waiting room had leather chairs and art on the walls that probably cost more than my monthly salary. A receptionist offered me coffee. I accepted. Bethany called me back after about 15 minutes. She was exactly what I'd hoped for. Sharp eyes that missed nothing. Professional demeanor. No nonsense attitude. She gestured to a chair across from her large desk. Tell me what happened, she said, pulling out a legal pad and pen. I told her everything. The Friday request. The suspicions I'd had for months. The camera I installed. The video. The email I sent. The aftermath. Vanessa's reaction. The messages. Everything. She listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. When I finished, she set down her pen and leaned back in her expensive office chair. Well, you've certainly taken a decisive approach to your situation. Was that a mistake? Legally, no. Morally? That's between you and your conscience, but from a legal standpoint, you're in a strong position. Let me ask you some questions. Did you have legal right to install that camera? It was in my own home. Both our names are on the lease. And Tennessee is a one-party consent state for recordings in private residences, so you were well within your legal rights. Your wife might try to claim invasion of privacy, but that won't hold up given the circumstances and location. What about the divorce itself? Tennessee recognizes fault-based grounds for divorce, including adultery. With video evidence, your case is about as straightforward as they come. We'll file on grounds of adultery. Given the evidence, I'd expect your wife's attorney to advise her to settle rather than fight this in court. How long will it take? If she doesn't contest it, we could have this wrapped up in 4 to 6 months. If she decides to fight, it could drag on for a year or more. But honestly, fighting would be pointless for her. The evidence is clear. What about assets? Tennessee is an equitable distribution state, which means marital assets will be divided fairly but not necessarily equally. Given her adultery, we can argue for a favorable split. Do you want to pursue that? I thought about it. I don't want to be vindictive, I just want to be done with this marriage. Split things down the middle and move on. She made a note. That makes my job easier, and it'll speed up the process considerably. What about the apartment? She can have it. I don't want it. Any children? No. That simplifies things significantly. All right. I'll draft the paperwork this week. We'll file by Friday. Once she's served, we'll see how she responds. I left her office feeling lighter than I had in days. Not happy, not relieved exactly, but like I was finally taking concrete steps toward something instead of just reacting to everything falling apart around me. The paperwork was filed that Friday. Vanessa was served the following Monday. I wasn't there to see her reaction, but she called me immediately despite being blocked. She left a voicemail. Cameron, I just got served with divorce papers. Please, we can't do this. We can't end everything like this. We can work through this if you just give us a chance. Please call me back, please. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the whole thing. A week later, I got a call from Bethany. Your wife has retained counsel, Robert Jameson. I've worked with him before. He's competent but not particularly aggressive. They've responded to our filing. And they're contesting on grounds that you violated her privacy and that your actions constitute emotional abuse. They're also claiming the marriage was already irretrievably broken before the affair, and that you bear partial responsibility for the breakdown. Can they make that stick? Not a chance. The video was taken in a shared residence where you had every right to place security equipment, and her adultery is well documented. As for claiming the marriage was already broken, that doesn't excuse adultery under Tennessee law. We'll file a motion to dismiss their counterclaims. How long will this take? A few more months probably, but don't worry, they're grasping at straws. The law is clearly on your side here. She was right. The judge reviewed the motions and dismissed Vanessa's counterclaims within 2 weeks. After that, her lawyer advised her to settle. We negotiated the terms, split the bank accounts 50-50, split the retirement accounts 50-50. She kept the apartment and the furniture. I kept my car and my personal belongings. Clean, simple, done. The final decree was signed in early July, 3 months after I'd sent that email. 3 months after my marriage had officially ended, though it had really ended long before that night in the motel room. During those 3 months, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I threw myself into work with renewed focus, took on additional projects, volunteered for assignments no one else wanted, stayed late, came in early. Anything to keep my mind occupied and moving forward. My boss noticed. She called me into her office one afternoon in mid-June. Cameron, I wanted to talk to you about your recent performance. My stomach dropped. Is there a problem? Quite the opposite. Your work these past few months has been exceptional. The efficiency improvements you implemented in our regional distribution network saved the company over $200,000 in the first quarter alone. Your project management skills have improved dramatically, and your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed. Thank you, I appreciate that. We're creating a new position, Senior Logistics Coordinator. It comes with a significant raise, better benefits, and a team of 3 people reporting to you. I'd like to offer it to you. I felt something like hope flicker in my chest for the first time in months. I'd be very interested. Good. We'll make it official at the start of next quarter. Congratulations, Cameron. You've earned this. I left her office feeling genuinely positive about something for the first time since everything had fallen apart. A promotion, recognition, forward momentum in at least one area of my life. I called Gregory that evening and told him the news. That's fantastic, man. We need to celebrate. Drinks on me this Friday. You're on. Friday came. We met at a restaurant downtown. Nothing too fancy. Good burgers and cold beer. Gregory raised his glass when the drinks arrived. To new beginnings and leaving the past behind. I clinked my glass against his. To new beginnings. We ate and talked and laughed. Normal conversation about work and sports and nothing heavy. It felt good, like being a regular person again instead of someone defined by what had happened to him. At one point, Gregory leaned back and studied me with a slight smile. You know, I've known you for what, 4 years now? About that, yeah. I've never seen you like this. Like what? At peace. Like you're actually comfortable in your own skin for the first time. I thought about it, he was right. Despite everything that had happened, despite the pain and betrayal and anger, I felt more myself than I had in years. Like I'd been wearing a costume that didn't quite fit, and now I'd finally taken it off. Yeah, I said. I guess I am. Good. You deserve it, man. You've been through hell and came out the other side. That takes strength. Thanks, Gregory. We finished our meal and I drove home to my quiet apartment. No drama, no lies. No wondering if my wife was texting someone else or making plans behind my back. Just peace. My phone buzzed as I was getting ready for bed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. Cameron, this is Jordan. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you. But I needed to reach out. I've spent the past 3 months in therapy trying to understand how I got here, how I became someone who could do what I did. I destroyed my own life. I hurt Claire. I hurt you. I hurt everyone who trusted me. There's no excuse for what I did. None. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I hope you're able to move forward and find happiness. You deserve better than what I put you through. Jordan. I read it once, then deleted it without responding. There was nothing to say. His apology didn't change anything, didn't undo the damage, didn't make the betrayal hurt less. He'd made his choices. Now he was living with the consequences. That was between him and his conscience. Summer arrived. Memphis got hot and humid in that oppressive way it does every year, the kind of heat that makes the air feel thick when you breathe. But I didn't mind. Everything felt manageable now, contained, under control. The promotion became official in July. Senior Logistics Coordinator, 22% raise, 3 direct reports, my own office instead of a cubicle. Small victories, but they mattered. They were evidence that life was moving in the right direction. I settled into the new role quickly. The additional responsibility felt good, purposeful. I had meetings to run, strategies to develop, people to manage. It kept my mind occupied in productive ways instead of dwelling on the past. Gregory took me out to celebrate properly this time. A nicer restaurant than before. He insisted on paying despite my protests. To Cameron, he said, raising his glass, the best comeback story I've seen in a long time. I smiled. I don't know about that. I do. 3 months ago you looked like you'd been hit by a truck. Now look at you. New apartment, new promotion, new lease on life. That's impressive, man. We clinked glasses and drank. The wine was good. Everything tasted better lately. Like my senses had been dulled for years and were finally coming back to full strength. One evening in late July, I got an email from Claire. I hadn't heard from her since those first few weeks. Her name appearing in my inbox gave me pause, but I opened it. Cameron, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out one more time to let you know how things are going for me. I've been in therapy, working through the betrayal and rebuilding my sense of trust. It's been hard, but I'm making real progress. I also wanted to tell you that I'm seeing someone new, someone kind and honest, someone who treats me with respect. I never thought I'd be able to trust again after what happened with Jordan, but I did, and I'm happier than I've been in years. I'm not saying this to brag or to make light of what happened. I'm saying it because I want you to know that healing is possible, that moving forward is possible. I hope you're finding that too. Thank you again for telling me the truth when it mattered most. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I'll always be grateful for that. I hope our paths cross again someday under better circumstances. Take care, Cameron. Claire. I read it twice, then replied, Claire, that's wonderful news. I'm genuinely happy for you. You deserved better than what Jordan gave you, and it sounds like you've found it. Thank you for sharing that with me. It helps to know that good things can come out of terrible situations. Take care. Cameron. I hit send and closed my laptop, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Genuine happiness for someone else's success, not tinged with bitterness or jealousy or regret. Just pure, uncomplicated happiness. A few days later, I ran into Vanessa at a grocery store. It was bound to happen eventually. Memphis wasn't that big, and we'd lived here together for years. Same neighborhoods, same stores. Paths were bound to cross. She was in the produce section when I saw her. She looked different, thinner, older somehow, though it had only been a few months. Like the weight of everything had settled into her bones and aged her prematurely. She saw me at the same time I saw her. For a moment, we just stood there frozen, both holding vegetables we probably didn't really want. Cameron, she said finally. Vanessa. How are you? I'm good. Really good, actually. Something flickered across her face. Pain, maybe, or regret. I heard you got promoted. Yeah, last month. That's great. I'm happy for you. She didn't sound happy. She sounded exhausted. How are you doing? I asked, not because I particularly cared, but because it seemed like the polite thing to say. I'm managing, day by day. She paused. Jordan moved to Ohio. I haven't talked to him in weeks. He said he needed to start over somewhere no one knew him. I see. Another pause. Longer this time. Awkward. Cameron, I'm sorry. For everything. I know I've said it before, but I need you to hear it again. I'm truly, deeply sorry for what I did. For how I treated you. For throwing away something good because I was selfish and stupid. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the dark circles under her eyes. The way her clothes hung a little loose. The way she held herself like she was carrying something heavy. And I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. No pity. Just nothing. I appreciate you saying that, I said. I hope you figure things out. That's it? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Vanessa? I don't know. Something. Anything. Some indication that what we had meant something to you. It did mean something, past tense, but that's over now. We're both moving forward with our lives. That's all there is to it. She looked like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. She just nodded slowly and turned away. I finished my shopping and drove home without thinking about her again. August came and went. Fall approached. The oppressive Memphis heat started to break, replaced by cooler evenings and changing leaves. I settled into my new routine completely. Work, gym, home, occasional dinners with Gregory and other colleagues, weekend soccer games with the recreational league I'd joined. Simple, peaceful, mine. One Saturday afternoon, I was sitting on my balcony reading when my phone buzzed, an email notification from an address I didn't recognize. Something made me open it. Cameron, this is Robert Hendricks from Draythorn Technologies. We spoke a few months ago regarding the Jordan Webb situation. I wanted to reach out with a final update. Our internal investigation has concluded. We discovered that Jordan's relationship with your wife was not an isolated incident. Over his 15 years with the company, he engaged in inappropriate relationships with at least 3 other employees he was supposed to be mentoring. We've implemented new policies and oversight procedures to ensure this never happens again. Jordan will never work in corporate leadership again if I have anything to say about it. I wanted you to know that your decision to come forward, as difficult as it must have been, likely prevented other people from being hurt in the future. Thank you for that. I hope you're doing well. Robert Hendricks. I read it several times. Jordan hadn't just betrayed me and Claire. He'd been doing this for years. Multiple women, multiple betrayals, all while presenting himself as a mentor and leader. I forwarded the email to Claire without comment. She deserved to know that what happened to her was part of a pattern, not a one-time mistake. She replied within an hour. Thank you for sharing this. It helps, somehow. Knowing it wasn't about me specifically, that he's just someone who does this. I hope he never gets the chance to hurt anyone else again. Claire. That evening, I went for a long walk around my neighborhood. The air was cool and crisp. Fall was definitely coming. Change was in the air. I thought about everything that had happened over the past 6 months. The betrayal, the discovery, the decision to send that email, the divorce, the rebuilding. And I realized something important. I didn't regret it. Any of it. Sending that email had been the right decision. Not out of revenge or spite, but because it was the truth. And people deserved to know the truth even when it was painful. Jordan lost everything. His job, his fiancée, his reputation, his church position, his entire life as he knew it. But that wasn't my fault. Those were the natural consequences of his actions, of years of lying and manipulating and betraying people's trust. I just made sure the truth came to light. Claire found healing and moved on to something better. She rebuilt her life and found happiness with someone who deserved her trust. Vanessa was living with the consequences of her choices. Alone in that apartment we used to share, surrounded by memories of what she'd destroyed. And me? I'd rebuilt from the ground up. New apartment, new job title, new life, new sense of who I was and what I'd tolerate. I wasn't the same man who'd sat in that motel room watching footage of his wife with another man. That man had been too trusting, too willing to ignore warning signs, too afraid of confrontation. The man I was now didn't ignore red flags, didn't make excuses for other people's bad behavior, didn't settle for less than he deserved. That night, I slept better than I had in years. No nightmares, no middle-of-the-night anxiety, just deep, peaceful sleep. The next morning I woke up early and made coffee, sat on my balcony watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The city was waking up below me, people starting their days, living their lives, moving forward, and I was moving forward too. Jordan lost his career, his fiancée, his church leadership, and his reputation in Memphis. The internal investigation at Draythorn revealed a pattern of misconduct spanning years, ensuring he'd never hold a position of authority again. He fled to Ohio to escape his past, but the consequences followed him. Claire healed, found love with someone deserving, and built a life free from lies. Vanessa remained in that apartment, living daily with the weight of what she'd destroyed, watching me thrive from a distance while she struggled to find meaning in the ruin she'd created. I didn't need revenge to feel whole again. I just needed to let the truth reveal people for exactly who they were.